Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a large winter storm that'll be impacting areas from the southern plains back into the southeast United States and the Ohio Valley as we go into Sunday and Monday. And this storm is going to cause a lot of problems because we're going to see a lot of ice accumulation in multiple areas that is going to cause a lot of travel impacts. In addition to this, we're going to be watching for upwards of 8 to 10 inches of snow in parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, but let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today, and we'll begin with the northeast United States, and this is where our first winter storm from this weekend has now officially moved out of the United States, even though there is still some lake effect snow that is going to be falling over the next 24 hours. The majority of the snowfall is now into Canada, and that low pressure system is now moving off to the north, but there is lake effect snow currently happening in western New York, including Buffalo and Watertown, where those areas could see as much as 2 feet of snow over the next couple of days. And then further back over to the west, you might notice all of this green and blue that is across much of the northern plains back through Canada. And what the infrared imagery does, and that's what we're looking at, the infrared imagery basically will detect how cold the cloud tops are with certain thunderstorms or just clouds in general. But in this case, it is so cold back up to the north that we actually have snow being detected on the infrared imagery. So it's kind of a little interesting feature there. Also notice the cold front has been moving through Texas. You can actually see that on the infrared imagery as well. And that is what's plunging all the Arctic air down to the south, including areas like Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And by the way, the DFW Metroplex in North Texas, they will not be above freezing again from now all the way until Wednesday afternoon. It is going to be a cold stretch of weather there. All right, let's talk more about this winter storm that is going to be impacting areas in the southern plains back into the Ohio Valley, and as well as even near the Dixie Alley. And there are a lot of watches and warnings right now. Notice we have winter storm warnings in effect for the entire state of Arkansas. The only exclusion is one county that is under a winter storm watch. We have winter storm warnings in effect for western Tennessee, which includes Memphis. We also have northern and western parts of Mississippi and winter storm warnings, and as well as northeast Texas near the Texarkana area. Winter weather advisories in effect across Oklahoma, and as well as back through much of north, central, and eastern Texas. This almost goes into Houston, by the way. This is going to be mainly for the potential of ice accumulation. And then back over to the east in Tennessee, back through central Mississippi, northern Alabama, and a singular county in northwest Georgia, there are winter storm watches in effect currently because there will be a chance for both snow and as well as freezing rain. Now, there are going to be travel impacts out of this disturbance. There's no doubt about it. We are talking about a winter storm in the southern plains and back through the Mississippi Valley. And these areas, we don't usually see roads being treated a lot of the time unless it's like main roads. A lot of the side streets, they don't get treated again because, you know, snow and ice is very uncommon down here in parts of the southern plains. So major travel impacts are expected in central and even southern parts of Arkansas with the potential for freezing rain and snow there. In addition to that, we do have moderate travel impacts that are expected from eastern Oklahoma back into western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. Right now, minor travel impacts are possible in parts of eastern and northeastern Texas. I do think this will get extended back into the DFW Metroplex because of the ice potential. That'll definitely cause some travel impacts. Even a little bit of ice can make it very slick on the roadways. Now let's talk more about the future radar, the snowfall accumulation, and the ice accumulation. We'll begin with the southern plains and the lower Mississippi Valley. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be pretty quiet across much of the southern plains, but we are going to begin to see a little bit of precipitation across northeast Texas, back through northern Oklahoma, and back even through Arkansas as we go around lunchtime tomorrow. So this is when it's all going to begin. We'll be looking at freezing rain across eastern and northeast Texas, but again, very minimal by this point. It's going to start picking up more though as we get closer to about 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, especially across areas in Arkansas, back into western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. A lot of this will be snowfall across Arkansas. However, if you're in the central and southern parts of the state, just south of Little Rock, there is a much better chance there of seeing freezing rain and sleet that'll lead to some ice accumulation. And this is going to stick on the ground for multiple days unless we see some sort of sunshine that really overpowers the ice on the roadways and melts it off. But I think overall it's going to be staying there for a few days. But for the record, if the roads are treated, which again, not all of these areas will have treated roads, but if they are treated, the ice will not be accumulating on those specific treated roadways. Once we go into Sunday night, we'll be still seeing some freezing rain. The freezing rain potential will ramp up a bit more in North Texas as we go closer to Sunday night into Monday morning. Notice that starts to pick up a bit more. Most of the snow action moves into Mississippi, back into Tennessee. This will actually be impacting a lot of areas over to the east, and I'll show you more details details on that here in a second. Maybe a little bit more snowfall back up into southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma, but not much Monday morning. And then this will all continue throughout the morning Monday. The heaviest of the sleet and freezing rain will be during the late morning Monday into the early afternoon, especially from East Texas back all the way into parts of northern Mississippi. Also notice there will be a chance of freezing rain all the way back down closer to Houston, Texas, but I don't think Houston will be seeing freezing rain out of this, but it will be definitely a close call. Now, in terms of total snowfall accumulation, this is an estimate right now that we're looking at across areas, especially in the Mississippi Valley area. Notice the highest snowfall accumulation will be across areas near Memphis, northern Mississippi, back into eastern and southeast Oklahoma. These areas in particular, I'm at least expecting right now between 3 to 6 inches of snowfall for anywhere in the black outlined area. Some areas, though, could pick up as much as 4 to 8 inches of snow. I wouldn't even rule out an isolated area getting closer to 10 inches of snow, since this system is going to be really slow moving overall. In terms of ice accumulation, I do think overall the majority of what we're going to see with ice, especially for the thickest amount of ice accumulation, will be from western Mississippi back into northeast Texas, with around 1/4 of an inch of ice being possible. However, areas even in North Texas and back through East Texas could still see a few areas there with around 1/4 of an inch of ice, but most areas in North Texas in particular will be between about a 1/100th inch of ice all the way up to about 1/10 of an inch of ice out of this particular event, with maybe a little bit of snowfall, but I don't anticipate much accumulation, at least in North Texas at this time. Now, further over to the east for areas like Tennessee, we'll be looking at some snowfall going into the overnight hours tonight across Kentucky and Ohio. Not a whole lot of accumulation will come out of that. Once we go into Sunday night, snow will ramp up across Kentucky and Tennessee. Notice most of this is going to be light snow. It's not really going to be heavy, thick snow that's going to really cause accumulation really quickly. So a lot of these areas in Kentucky will pick up a coating to maybe an inch or two. By Monday morning, snow continues across Tennessee, back into North Carolina and Virginia. A much better shot of snow will start to ramp up across Tennessee as we go into Monday afternoon, with heavier snowfall moving across these areas. And I do anticipate some higher snowfall accumulation across central Tennessee as long as this scenario holds true. Now, in terms of total snowfall accumulation, almost all the computer models are all over the place with snowfall and where it's exactly going to fall. I mean, some models like the European model brought it down way down here, which I don't think it'll be that far south. The GFS model in particular is kind of in the middle, but very low snowfall totals. I think this is a pretty good model, though, to give you an idea of how much snow we'll be seeing, because I think Tennessee overall will have a good chunk of the snowfall. We'll be probably at least watching for around 3 to 5 inches of snow from southwest Tennessee back into central Tennessee. Again, we still could see a couple isolated areas in here between about 6 to 8 inches of snow, maybe an area near 10 inches as well. So that'll be kind of the in-between. Back into southeast Kentucky, 2 to 4 inches would be my forecast for now. And then back further to the north and West Virginia, some of the higher elevations could also see some snowfall out of this. In terms of ice accumulation, I think overall most of the ice will be across areas in northern Louisiana. We might see this get close to the Gulf Coast. Again, stay tuned. Make sure to watch our next forecast. I'll have more details on this once it becomes more certain. But there is a chance it gets down closer to central, maybe even parts of southern Mississippi, with maybe a glazing of ice. And then back into central Mississippi or Alabama and Mississippi, we'll be also watching for maybe 1/10 of an inch of ice, all the way down possibly closer to 1/100th of an inch of ice. So that'll be the range to watch for there as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll be keeping you posted with the latest as this winter storm evolves. If you enjoyed this forecast, make sure to like the video.